What's up guys, Patrick here, and I want to show you guys a really fun deck that I've been playing. I think this deck has a really high skill ceiling, and honestly it reminds me of how proper planning can win you games like the Giratina decks from last season. And I know you're gonna say that Giratina is still strong this season, I believe you, but I'm just tired of that deck. I'm pretty sure I have close to 500 to 700 games with Giratina from last season. And I just want to try something new. I'll get to this season's Giratina eventually. So this is the deck I've been talking about. It's a Greninja and Snorlax deck with a Giratina. I know some versions run 2 Giratinas. I ran into this deck about 2 to 3 times in the first 3 days of rank, and it made a lasting impression on me. And I knew I wanted to try it out at some point. And when I did get about 25 games of proper footage to make the video, guess what? Would you look at that? The very next day, it won a 1,000 player tournament, although it was the 2 Giratina variation. I'll go over the difference for both. And the great thing about this is a free-to-play deck, assuming you got your Giratina from the last season. Which I hope you did, since we had the free rental deck selection that we got to keep, and if you didn't choose the Giratina deck when you didn't have one, considering that this was the most popular card for that season, I don't know what to tell you. Hopefully you can find someone to trade you. So here is my version of the deck list that I've been using. I have 1 Frogadier and 1 Pokemon Communication, to ensure that I can evolve Greninja more consistently. And because of this consistency, which is also one of our win conditions, I have 2 Cyruses instead of 1. If you don't have your Greninja up and running by the time you need to use the Cyrus, you probably already lost the game. You can either opt in for the Iridia or the Pokemon Center Lady. I've been toying around with the idea of switching over to the Pokemon Center Lady, since there's been more times where I wanted to cleanse the Snorlax's sleep condition over a multi-targeted heal. In all the clips that I will be showing, I am playing with water energy only to have consistency in the case that I need to have my Greninja up front to attack. I recently have been playing with both psychic and water energy. I think that actually might be the stronger variation. You can try out both and see which one you like better. I think the beauty of this deck is that you only need 1 water energy on your Greninja in order to attack. Everyone else besides Giratina uses colorless energy. Also, in the clips I will be showing you, some of these clips are part of my 9-win streak in the high Master Ball rank. Hopefully that shows you that this is a consistent and strong variation of the deck. I'll showcase the 9th win in a different video because I think it is a really good clip, so do look forward to that. And this is the deck list of the winner of the 1,000 player tournament, which is currently the largest tournament so far for Celestial Guardians. This deck plays with both water and psychic energy, which makes sense because they have 2 Giratinas. They don't have a Frogadier nor a Pokemon Communication, which means the win condition is less reliant on Greninja. And also because of that, they only have 1 Cyrus compared to my version. They have 2 Pokemon Center Lady, which suggests that this deck pushes towards more reliance on the Snorlax. You'll also notice that they have a Rocky Helmet, which is probably there to help the Greninja and Snorlax get to proper breakpoints on higher HP opponents. Feel free to try both decks and see which one you like, and let me know your thoughts on either decks in the comments below. Onwards to the gameplay. So this is the first game. I want to showcase the priority of who you want to be upfront as the active Pokemon. It is obviously Snorlax first, then Froakie, and then Giratina would be last. If you run both Psychic and Water Energy, then there are situations where a Giratina upfront might be okay. But at the same time, I still consider it pretty risky. Giving up 2 points would be pretty big considering that we are running 4 non-EX Pokemon lineup. You'll ideally want Giratina to come out and be knocked out last to get the full value of the non-EX Pokemons first. So we probably have the worst possible start, which is a Giratina start, but it is okay considering that Giratina can generate its own energy so it can retreat within 2 turns if needed. And we are lucky enough to be able to draw one of our Snorlaxes while having a berry in our hand. The opponent was able to get one of their ideal setup, a Skarmory in the front with the Poketool, and at least 1 Cosmog in the back. We get our Froakie, and now we are in great shape, considering that we have a Rare Candy and a Greninja in our hands, on top of Berry and Cyrus. And over here, I let my Giratina take 1 more attack, even though I could have retreated a turn earlier, since I didn't want to run the risk of the opponent playing a Cyrus or a Sabrina, which would have disrupted my plans of knocking out the Skarmory. The breakpoints between 50 HP and 100 HP would not have mattered anyways against a Solgaleo, which attacks for 120 damage. I intentionally put the water energy on the Giratina so that it can conserve one of the psychic energies in case that we need to charge it up later on in the game. The moment I get my Greninja, I start focusing on poking down the Cosmogs in the event that they evolve it into a Solgaleo later on, considering that the Snorlax is gonna one-hit KO the Skarmory with Berry. We put the water energy on the Snorlax in the event that they don't have a Solgaleo to evolve the Cosmog. And here comes the beauty of Berry with Snorlax and Giratina combo. You get to attack with Berry for 100 damage with 2 energies, and in the next turn, the downside of having to take a dead turn to put an energy on Snorlax is mitigated by allowing Giratina to space-time bellow. And obviously the poke damage from the Greninja is also great synergy with a Snorlax wall. I retreat here to put up the Snorlax as a tank since Solgaleo has to take 2 turns to knock it out, which allows more time for my Greninja to continue to poke the Solgaleo in order for it to be within the knockout range for my Giratina. If you guys enjoyed this video so far, please consider hitting that like button, it really helps me out a lot. With enough psychic energies for Giratina to attack, plus the Greninja poke, we're gonna be able to secure this game pretty easily. So in this game, I want to showcase the power of Snorlax and Berry. In this deck's win condition isn't to only find your Greninja to do poke damage while your Giratina sweeps. This deck can also win from you just hitting your berries with a 2 energy Snorlax. Rather than showing you a clip where I am wrecking the opponent with berries, which I have a lot of clips of, I'd rather show a clip where I can give you proper advice on how to play Berry and Snorlax. And that advice is to play as if you have Berry in your hand by adding at least 1 energy onto your Snorlax. And there is 3 reasons for this. Number 1, if you add 1 energy to get a proper setup onto your Snorlax in the active spot, you will most likely have time to add enough energy to your Greninja or Giratina, even if you don't hit your Berry. Number 2, putting 1 energy on your Snorlax will put pressure onto your opponent. They don't know if you have a Berry or not, or if you're just bluffing, and it forces them to play on a timer, which may cause them to misplay. Number 3, you might top deck your Berry, in which then you can use it right away, since you already have that 1 energy on your Snorlax, and you only need to add 1 more. And we do exactly as I just mentioned. We put the water energy on the Snorlax in the event that we get a berry draw and to put pressure onto our opponent. Also notice that I have a red in my hands, so this is definitely one of my earlier games as I was adjusting my deck list. But I chose this game because I thought it provides a great example of what I'm trying to teach. And would you look at that? Despite the opponent using I don't know to try to get rid of a berry or to improve their hands, we are able to draw it again in 2 turns. We placed our second Snorlax on the bench in the event that they happen to evolve their Cosmog into their Solgaleo and have a Sabrina. That would then force us to choose a Pokemon on our bench. And we will want that Pokemon to be the second Snorlax so it can tank up damage. So over here is a strong example on why I am considering replacing Erida with Pokemon Center Lady. As you can see, Aerida doesn't really help too much in this situation, but a Pokemon Center Lady might. The opponent gets their Solgaleo, but we are still highly positioned to win considering that we have energies on our Giratina as well as a second Snorlax to tank. So now we're gonna send out the second Snorlax and hopefully we can use the berry, but in case we don't, we're gonna charge up our Giratina for our backup plan. And now, with the combination of our Greninja and Berry with Snorlax, we're going to be able to knock out their Solgaleo. And we didn't even need to use our Giratina to close out the game. So for this game, it was an interesting one. I want to showcase how to assess your hand and board against your opponent's board. So this should be a very familiar deck, right guys? If you don't know what I'm talking about, then do check out my other video in my channel. So time to assess the board. The opponent's Magnemite can ramp up really quickly to take over the game, and seeing that we don't have our Giratina to start ramping up on our end, or a second berry in our hand to do consistent enough damage, we had to gamble with the Pokemon communication to either get the Giratina to start ramping up, or a Greninja to combo with the Rare Candy. This was a 2 in 3 chance of swinging the game back to our favor, since the only dead card that we could have gotten was another Froakie. We hit the Greninja and we start chipping away at the potential Magnezone. After using Berry to knock out their Oricorio, the opponent immediately concedes, which means that they probably did not have a Magneton in their hands to start ramping up, since they are now on a timer against the Greninja poke. For our last clip, I want to showcase the power of Cyrus in this deck, which is why we have 2 of them. Since we are going second, I decided to keep the Froakies in my hand in case that he does a Sabrina or if something else ends up happening. I know an Oricorio deck usually doesn't run a Mars, but who knows. I decided to take that risk regardless. And the Snorlax was a pretty good draw. I think the Giratina could have been a little better, but either one was fine. We put the energy on our Snorlax for all the benefits of which I mentioned earlier in game 2. We draw the Giratina on our turn, and now we are in great shape even though we don't have our berry. We do the math to calculate that since we are going second, we get to knock out the opponent's Oricorio before they get a chance to knock out our Snorlax, even if we don't get berry on time. We Professor's research into getting our Frogadier, and then we get to evolve it this turn, and next turn we get to evolve it into Greninja. And that's one of the reasons why I prefer to have a Frogadier, to be able to more consistently evolve our Greninja, which is gonna play a big part in winning this game. And the moment the opponent plays the Pikachu EX, our victory is almost guaranteed. Since we already got 1 point off of the Oricorio, we just need to stall for a few more turns and we have all the tools to win the game. And hope that the opponent does not Mars or I don't know our hand. And now we just need to prepare our Giratina to be able to attack once we're ready to pull the Pikachu EX out into the active spots and once they knock out our Snorlax. Over here, since we now have 2 Greninjas and we just drew a berry, we can make sure that the opponent cannot stall to have any outs possibly on their end by poking down the Magnezone to KO range by the Snorlax, and we attach a water energy onto Snorlax to make sure that the opponent will knock it out next turn. And now that we are in the clear, we get to keep our Cyrus. With a fully charged Giratina, we will pull the Pikachu EX out of the bench and knock it out to win the game. And this is my personal preference on why I don't run a Pikachu EX in the Oricorio and Magnezone deck, because I feel like it's more of a liability most of the time, and it only helps you out for a small amount of matches. I know these games might have been pretty straightforward to some people, but I purposely chose these games to showcase how to play this deck in various situations and the tools you have to win the game. For my next video, I'm actually going to showcase the 9th game of my 9-game win streak on this deck, which is going to be one of the best games I've ever played on Pokemon TCG Pocket so far, so stay tuned. You wouldn't want to miss it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do consider hitting that like button if you did enjoy it, and I'll see you guys next time.